Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another virtual, hybrid edition of our Heritage Wilmot Advisory Committee meeting. I'd like to start off with our territorial acknowledgement, read by Mark Roll. Mark. Thank you, Mark. Next item, minutes of previous meetings. We have a recommendation that the minutes of the April 9th meeting be adopted as presented. Any comments, questions? I guess we need a motion first. Motion to approve? So moved. Councillor Cressman and Al, second. Any comments, questions, edits? Ren? I have a copy here, if you'd like one. Yeah. Anything else? All in favor? That's carried. Next item, disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Conflict of Interest Act. I did not receive any notice before the meeting. Any members have any conflict to declare? Seeing none. Moving on to 5, Heritage Wilmot business. First item was the Township Arboretum Anniversary history for the Township website. We had a recommendation along with a staff report that the committee receive the report HCAC 06-24 for information purposes. Cam or Sherry, did you have anything to mention on that?
Yes, thank you. I'll just touch on it very briefly. Kind of serving as an update to what we discussed at our last February meeting, I guess. It was discussed in terms of ways to honor the history of the Arboretum with the upcoming 30th anniversary, which is in the month of May of this year. And at that meeting, it was decided as part of that, we'd dedicate a webpage on the Township website that details the history of the Arboretum and how it came to be in its current form. So the report just touches on a little bit of the background in terms of how we got here. The committee was provided with the draft website before it went live and had the opportunity to provide any sort of comment. And as well as the Arboretum Subcommittee also had an opportunity to review the material that's been posted on the website and provide any input as well. So it has gone through, several stages of review through various members of the committee, and seemingly everyone's happy with it, and it's been live on our website since the 1st of May in honor of the anniversary upcoming. And we've also done a few other things, so it's been on the digital message boards, kind of recognizing the upcoming anniversary date, as well as some social media posts have been live, advertising the webpage that's been curated. And there's been some other work, perhaps that is upcoming that maybe Sherry wants to touch on a little bit. But the intent is really that this webpage is going to stay up permanently, kind of honoring the history of the Arboretum. There was foldouts and screenshots included as part of the report. If anyone wants to see anything specific, I have it up here in terms of the website. It's just wilmot.ca/arboretum. So there is a short link which makes it very easy to find for anybody. So happy to answer any questions about that as well.
Thanks, Karen. Sherry?
Yes, the display will be installed tomorrow at the WRC for it, and then we've also created QR codes that will be installed at the Arboretum itself so that people can scan in and read the history while they're visiting.
Very cool. It's very exciting. I know Yvonne's not here, but she did great work, and it's a really nice history, and I learned a lot about the Arboretum. So it's exciting to see it up on the website and advertised elsewhere. Anyone else? Councillor?
Yes, I certainly didn't know its origins, and maybe it makes me feel old because Sandy Forsyth was in the Middlesex office when I started my career with OMAFRA. So I knew him as ag rep growing up here in the region or the county at that time, and then personally as the office manager and ag rep in Middlesex when I was working as the dairy cattle specialist out of there. I certainly knew of Wilf, but not personally. So I found a great interest, and to see the plowing demonstration and the runoff, and some of those issues never change over time in farming. So I thought it was very well done, and my compliments to those who put it together.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? Al?
I was just going to add that I think it's really great, very thorough. I did sit in on one of the subcommittee meetings because I had written an article on Wilf for the Wilmot Post a number of years ago. So he's a very interesting man. And I mentioned this at the subcommittee meeting, and I'll mention it again. If we ever decide we want to come up with a nice, catchy name for the Arboretum, I think it should be called the Wilf Sneller Memorial Arboretum. I'll just put that little nugget out there.
Thanks, Al. I like it. All right, so there's a recommendation to receive the report for information purposes. I have a mover and seconder for that. Al and Marg. Any further questions, comments? All in favor? That's carried. Next item is 5.2, 154 Huron Street, New Hamburg. Replacement of the front porch, and recommendation from staff that the committee endorse the proposed porch replacement as presented in report HCAC 07-24. Cameron, did you want to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you. So yeah, this HCO 7/24 is a proposed porch replacement at 154 Huron Street in New Hamburg. And so this property was constructed circa 1900. It's continued originally as a single residence, and it's continued as such to this day. It's on the kind of the westerly edge of what forms part of the Heritage Conservation District, and as such, any sort of exterior modifications to the structure are subject to review from Heritage Wilmot, which brings us to tonight's report. So the owner is proposing replacement of the covered front porch. At the time that it arrived to staff, the original porch had already been removed. So we were left with kind of looking at some historical images of what it looked like, as well as some pictures that were provided from the applicant. As you can see here, obviously the majority of the porch has been taken down. And all that remains is some posts as well as the railing. I will put up a picture of what it did look like. Before this was the porch provided. This image was in the staff report. It was in disrepair according to the applicant, so it was taken down. And as you can see here, there are some sections that are failing. And this picture was provided by the contractor. So this is a picture that was taken. There isn't a date on it, unfortunately, in terms of when that was done. But so that photo was attached as part of the report. So within we did review the Heritage Conservation District study and how it speaks to this property in particular. And, it does reference several architectural features of this structure being majority to do with the main building itself. It doesn't necessarily refer directly to the front porch. That's not to say it doesn't obviously contribute to the overall appearance of the structure as a whole, but it wasn't referred to in the original document. We did look for some original pictures to try and see, kind of date the porch and see when it was added. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find any, so it's not known whether this porch in its current form is original. Likely not in terms of looking at the railing and things like that, but again, that can't be said with certainty. We did also try and search through some Google Street View images, but there's a large tree that's been in front of the building for the last several decades, so that was also a little bit more difficult to locate. There were some images provided again in the staff report. If anyone would like to see that at a closer detail, I'm happy to show those again. Really here, the homeowner has lived in the house for several decades. It previously was their mother's home from what they have told me, and now they've taken it over. The gentleman is retired and is looking at, obviously, in this case, replacing it to the best of ability of what was there with some very minor modifications. So this includes, again, matching the green shingles that were there on the roof. All the materials proposed are to be made of wood. There is a slight design change right now. You can see there are round posts on the porch, and they're proposing to use square posts. And the reason for this being the significant cost difference that they've expressed between the round posts and the square posts. So that's simply the reason for why they are looking to shift that minor design element. Everything else in terms of the pitch of the roof, the dimensions, is set to remain the same. The material types, there are also going to be some slight changes to the railing, which is slightly necessitated by the fact that this would require a building permit, and the current guards would not meet current Ontario Building Code standards for vertical guards. So that is a slight change as well in terms of the design. There are, I will throw up a picture here as well of the gingerbread. This again was in the report. The homeowner's plan is to remake these using wood. So again, that's going to be remade and redesigned into the porch replacement. Overall, the homeowner has demonstrated a willingness to match to the best of their ability what is there currently, and really this is largely a replacement with some very small minor design modifications. Staff are of the opinion that they have a genuine desire to return what was there to the best of their ability, and are recommending that the committee endorse the proposed replacement tonight.
Thanks, Cameron, for the overview. I'll open it up to staff. Mark.
So just to confirm, right where my mouse is here? Okay. Yeah. Oh. Yes, this piece? Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I was referring to I know there's interchangeable terms for, it was referred to by the owner as kind of the gingerbread. I know it might not meet the specific definition of that, but they are planning to remake that out of wood. Mm-hmm. That's correct. They just will change out posts with square posts, yes. And paint them white again.
Just use your mic when possible for the YouTube.
Good catch, Councillor. Any other questions? Ren?
So it's quite a small porch, really. And what do you call that? The under part of the porch, it's not going to be vinyl or nothing. That's going to be wood then too, to your understanding?
Yes, to my understanding, all the materials are going to be wood. I did confirm that with the applicant, and that's their intention. Kind of, everything will be wood. The aluminum, there'll be aluminum kind of soffit and fascia here, which is what was there currently in terms of the eaves. Now you can kind of see it here. That'll all be same material type, but the bottom deck was wood, and is my belief that it's still going to continue to be wood.
Okay.
Thanks, Cameron. Anyone else? All right. So there's a recommendation to endorse the porch replacement as presented in report HCSC 07-24. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Oh, yep.
What is the timing of this summer?
Yeah, it's my understanding they want to proceed as soon as possible. The next stage following endorsement would be to apply for a building permit. Generally, the review of that is, 10 business days if they provide a complete package. They've expressed that they want to kind of move ahead as soon as possible because they wanted to get it to this meeting. So my understanding that they're going to be proceeding as soon as possible.
Thanks, Cam. Wade and Stuart to first and second. Any further questions, comments? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. All right, moving on to 5.3, which is 84 to 88 Huron Street, replacement of windows. We just had a verbal update on the project. I don't know if you guys had an update. I just wanted to mention to the committee, I'd walked by there recently and saw they had the windows replaced, and then now they've got the awnings replaced as well and the rest of the trim. So the building's got a nice fresh look, and I think they've done a good job. Did you have anything else, Cameron or Sherry? Okay. I should have taken a couple of pictures and sent them along, but I did not do that. I'll do that next time I walk by. And that was all really on that. I don't know if anyone else had anything they wanted to add or mention. Okay. 5.4 was update on the water lot, verbal update. Work is well underway. I noticed that as well as I walk around. And they've got some of the wall sections up on the new addition, and things are certainly underway. I don't know, Cameron or Sherry, if you had anything else you wanted to add.
Yeah, there's been work is still proceeding. In terms of physical progress, if anyone's thinking it may have stalled a little bit, they are just working on addressing some hydro servicing connection issues through some Grand River Conservation Authority lands. So it's caused a slight pause in some of the work, but again, everything else is still proceeding as planned there.
Okay, thanks. Stuart?
Yes, could you just provide a Coles Notes version of the water lot renovation? Because I'm coming on new and not aware of exactly. You don't have to give it real detail, but maybe you don't remember Coles Notes for Shakespeare, etc.
No, I can definitely provide you with the Coles Notes. Yeah, just very briefly, I guess. The original structure of the water lot building has been retained. There was an older addition that's been demolished, and they've since done a wood frame addition that's been started. We previously brought a report to this committee at a previous meeting, kind of showing the design elements, and the applicant was here and got endorsement from the committee for the project. But overall, essentially what they're looking at doing is there's going to be some upper story apartments, and on the ground floor there's going to be some commercial space. My understanding, Chef Adam Brenner is going to be moving back in the space. So kind of building a larger commercial space with, again, some apartments on the upper levels.
Thanks, Cameron. How's that for Coles Notes? Good. Excellent. Anything else on water lot for anyone? All right, seeing none, we can move on to 5.5, which is 1522 Bethel Road, verbal update on the project. Sherry.
Yes, we had the owner, Karen Doan, stopped in last week. She has completed her renovations to 1522 Bethel Road, and as promised, she delivered some prime examples that we can put into the permanent collection here at the castle for future reference.
Excellent. And that was the section of the trim, right?
Yes, they're the sections that you picked out while you were there.
Excellent. I'm excited to see them. Oh, you have them here? Awesome. I'll have a look after. Well, that's great. I'll have to go by and have a look and see how it is. Yeah. Thanks, Shay. Anyone else? Any other? Stuart?
Just as a neighbor, we call them Dane, Karen Dane as compared to Doan, so just.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, that's what they've been known as long as I've known the family.
Thanks, Counselor. Anything else? All right. 5.6, Bridges of Wilmot Township, history for the township website. Just had a placeholder for an update from the subcommittee in case there was anything. So I'll just open it up if anyone had. Al?
We haven't gathered anything more than what we had reported on at the last meeting. So anyone who's out there watching, if you have anything on a bridge in Wilmot Township, please contact us. Especially the northern bridges. We have information for the southern end, but nothing on any of the truss bridges at the northern end of the township.
All right, thanks, Al. The search continues, I suppose. I think moving on then to 5.7, heritage properties and potential designations. Update from the subcommittee. I can start, and if anyone else has anything. I know last meeting we talked about approaching the owners for the remaining properties in the top 10, and I haven't made much movement yet in that, but hopefully by the next meeting I'll have some feedback on some of those properties so we can see where we go from there in terms of designations. Anyone else updates or other properties? I know there's the properties, Mark, that you had done research on before on Peel Street and Waterloo, and I think those will be added next time we do updates to the non-designated register, if whatever shape that ends up looking. Be nice to know from the province what the timeline is, if the registers will go away in January, or if there's an opportunity that it gets extended, then it might make more sense to add a property. Just to, if it's a 3-year timeline, unless we know there's some of those we want to designate, then you wouldn't be able to have it back on the list for another 5 years after that. So I guess if there was any really high priority ones on that list, we could take a look at that and see if there's any on there.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thoughts? Al?
Yeah, I was wondering, just as sort of a suggestion, and you can follow up any way you want, in terms of the properties that I know you're approaching, or the ones that we identified last year through that rather challenging process of trying to whittle our excellent non-designated list down to 10 properties. But there's a property in Wilmot Center that I think maybe you should consider, or we should consider adding them if we're not getting anywhere with our 10. It is on our list, and maybe that might be something to think about.
Yeah, I think it would make sense if we see how we get through our 10. Maybe there's another 10 after that are ones we want to have on the official list as kind of the next priority for designating.
Well, my rationale for suggesting that, I mean, it's pretty obvious with all the whatever that's going on with that block of land. The owner might be very interested. We don't know if it's part of it. I don't think it is, but still, it's been on the non-designated list for a long time, and it is that Fieldstone house in Wilmot Center.
Oh, okay. Sure, Councillor.
This is a question of ignorance, but I'm used to asking them. Where would one find the list of designated, being new? I'm just kind of interested to know what is designated as of now. Is there a place I would go on a website somewhere to find them?
There is, in fact. The Heritage Wilmot website, I'm sure we can provide the link handy, but if you go on there, there's a section for designated properties, and then there's a PDF you can download too for ones that are the non-designated list, so you can take a look at both. And I think if it's still the layout it was last time I looked, is there's like a pull down for each of the designated properties with like a picture and bylaw. Yeah. I think that's still the layout. Yeah. Good. Ren?
Looking back on the notes over the years, there's a couple of things that have kind of dropped off the table, and one was the Bechdel site. And, is that something that we should pursue or not? I know that You guys have done, some people have done a lot of work with pictures and such. And I just don't know, is there an update on that? Is that something we should just forget about or not? And then there's another one that, from 2022, and Sherry would know about this, the one on 529 Fairview, the Roth House. It's sitting there just in the middle of nowhere doing, nothing. And I don't know, is it got a demolition permit on it, or is it going to be, it's just sitting there doing nothing, and hopefully it doesn't deteriorate too much more. So it's something that maybe we should really add to the non-designated listing and decide if we're going to keep it on or not, both those properties. And I know they were important to us at one time, and, I just don't like to see them go away.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know what's happened to either of those properties in however long it was since we talked about them. Yeah. I don't know, is that something to add to the meeting for the next agenda, or we just deal with as we're looking at the register updates, Cameron?
Yeah, I can provide a brief update on both properties. So the property across from Waterloo Oxford, Beckdale, my understanding that a demolition permit was issued several years ago on that. They just haven't simply proceeded. So they've applied and done all the necessary documentation. They have thoroughly photographed the building. They generously provided funding in order to do, we were able to get some interior shots of the structure, like those eye guide, and do some walkthroughs of the building, as well as some aerial shots. So it's been very well documented in terms of, and this was a year back. So it's since deteriorated a little bit more since the pictures have been taken. I don't believe, I can't speak for the applicant, I don't know if they're interested in pursuing any sort of designation. It's my understanding clearly that they've wanted to proceed with demolition. Regarding the other property on 529 Fairview Street, my understanding is that they do not have a demolition permit. I'd have to refer back, but it is boarded up and it's a little bit in disrepair. The owner of the property has been exploring redevelopment options for that site for several years, and it's kind of, it's hit a bit of a snag in terms of the development potential of those lands, and whether or not they can be developed has been a little bit up in the air with some provincial changes. The lands were originally in the New Hamburg urban area boundary, and then they were taken out several years ago due to lack of activity, and they weren't feasible at the time to develop. So they are in the countryside line, so they do have a development potential in the future, but at this stage, there isn't any sort of immediate development plans that we're aware of. Again, they're working through certain things, and there's a little bit of uncertainty at a provincial level at this stage. But in terms of updates, that would be the update on those two sites, yes.
Okay, thanks, Cameron. Ren?
Cameron, do the demolition permits have a timeline that they run out after 120 days or 2 years or whatever, or do they have to reapply then, or is it always in place?
Yeah, there are stipulations in the Ontario Building Code for timeframes. It can vary based on if progress has been made. So that's generally up to determination of our building staff if they've been making progress towards their permit application. I can provide a status update on kind of where it is at a future meeting in terms of giving everybody a little bit more concrete details on where things are at. That's something I can do certainly at the next meeting.
Okay, thanks, Cameron. I appreciate the update on both those, because I didn't know what was happening. And thanks, Ren, for raising those. Anything else on non-designated register? Every month I keep hoping we're going to have an update from the province, but we don't hear, so we'll see. With that, we can move on to number 6, though, Castle Kilbride business. 6.1 was activities update. Have a recommendation to receive the report HCAC 0824 for information purposes. Sherry, did you want to talk about that?
Sure, I can just briefly touch on what we did during April. For our events, we had ghost walks, and those have been incredibly popular. So we've pretty much have one scheduled per month, but for May, because it's been so popular as well, we've added on another date. And we just hosted one on Saturday night, which was full, sold out. So it's great to have. It's a totally different crowd that comes out to those evenings, and people that I don't think would ever visit the castle, other than to be spooked and to learn the eerier side of the castle. In stark contrast to that, we do something called Whimsical Weekends, which is highlighting our fabled exhibit, and we pick a different costume or play per month. And so we did Iolanthe with the fairy toadstool homes, and then this coming weekend we're actually doing Camelot, and they've got a special craft planned for that. And those have been very popular, so we're happy to see that, because it's the first time that we've tried something like this. Our stats were pretty good. You'll notice we were down a little bit in the group tour. That group tour is actually coming next week. So instead of coming in April, they're coming in May, and then they're going to be coming again in June. And we really are starting to notice our bus traffic picking up again, which is nice. We've got lots of homeschool programs and lots of smaller Christian schools, which are coming in May and June as well. We only had one donation last month, which was the original hutch from Castle Kilbride, and we have that in the summer kitchen, which we're using for our gift shop items, and it lends itself very nicely to that room, and we're quite happy to have that piece back. We've just continued on with our social media. We've actually just launched on Instagram, which is wonderful. We are still contributing to the Baden Outlook every month, and there's a newly formed communications team for the township that both Cam and I are part of. And there's some exciting things coming from communications. Staffing, we have hired one of our 2 summer students. So our Young Canada Work student, Catherine, started yesterday, and we're quite excited to have her on board. She's got all kinds of projects, mostly working with the collection itself and putting things into our Past Perfect database. And hopefully we'll be able to hire our Canada Summer Jobs student within the next week. We didn't get as much funding for that position as we normally do. We usually ask for 16 weeks, and we received 8. So we're still grateful to have the 8 weeks, but it's a little bit of a challenge to find someone who wants to come for a shorter work term over those summer months. I think that's all for my update. Does anyone have any questions? Ren?
About 15 years ago or so, we used to have lots of bus tours. Mm-hmm. Now, is that starting to come back, or is that something that is hard to get back?
It is starting to return. We normally we have at least 5 or 6 bus groups booked for the Christmas season by this time, and we have 3. So I feel like we're starting to return. And this particular bus group that we have coming next month, this group likes to go to the is it the Walters Dinner Theater? Yes, so whichever's playing there that they can get group tickets for, then they'll come here first, then go for lunch and head there. Yep. Yeah, Walters, yeah. Yeah.
I was going to ask, the event you have, is that the ghost tours, or were there other events too?
In April?
Yeah, the 100 people.
Oh, yes, so that's just that's for Ghost Walks.
Oh, cool.
Alone, yeah.
Wow.
So they do tours every half hour, mm-hmm. and because of the nature of the home, the size, we can only have 20 people per guide. So, and then there's only so many dark hours, mm-hmm. and I make sure that I'm out of here by 11.
Oh, that's a great turnout for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else, anybody? All right. I think we had a recommendation with that. We did. Recommendation to receive the report for information purposes. Mover and seconder. Al and Susan. Final comments? Nope. All in favor? That's carried. Can move on to 6.2, which was the Castle Kilbride Emergency Response Plan. There was recommendation to receive the Castle Kilbride Emergency Plan and provide feedback, and then endorsement will be at the following meeting. And Sherry, did you want to speak to this item?
Sure. So every single year we apply for the Community Museum Operating Grant. And each year they ask us to submit either a policy or a plan or update, one that we have submitted before. So this year, all eligible museums are asked to provide an emergency and disaster plan. And here at the castle, we've always had an informal one that we've had at our front desk and that everyone is trained on. So this was a nice exercise for us to put together a more formal plan. So I'm hoping that you can take the opportunity to look it over. I apologize, I know it is a rather long document, and provide me with any feedback. I'm also going to be providing this to our fire department, and they're going to be looking it over as well by the end of the month and providing their input as well. It was a really neat exercise for us because we've already provided our collection policy to them, but this one, Taylor and I sat down and we were trying to decide what the priorities were. So to have a grab list for inside the castle that could be provided to the Baden Fire Department, that if something was to happen, if they could run in and here's the top 10 pieces to grab and save for us. So that's been neat, and also to get a proper salvage plan in place as well for any of the disasters that could happen. So yeah, it's been quite neat.
Cool. It was very interesting to read. So you guys covered a lot of stuff in there, which is really cool.
Do you read the full book?
Pardon?
Do you read the full book?
Do not. So you were looking for feedback from the committee if there was anything, any thoughts on it?
Yes, please.
Okay. If
there's anything that you see that's glaring, or you think that should be added, I would be grateful for that.
Okay. Al?
Just, you said you're going to be referring it to the fire. Should it be run by the police? I guess the reason that popped into my head is when before we started the restoration, Sergeant, and of course there was a real horror story about what was potentially happening here with the people that were living in here at that time. But Sergeant Bowman came to me totally out of the blue. He was the staff sergeant in New Hamburg at that time. I was chair of the committee, and he came without me talking to him, and he says, I'm very concerned. He says, he says, I'm afraid we're going to get called here because, and I won't say what, but, because of the activities that were going around. He says, how would we enter this place if we had to, and stuff like that. Now, it's different now because we don't have parties going on in here except for ghost walks at night. But he had expressed a real concern. So I don't know if they might want to have, you might want to have input from them or not. I don't know.
That is a great suggestion, and I will reach out and see if they would be willing to do that for us. I know for our corporate leadership team, they have had a couple of exercises where they've brought out new trainees to do, I think it's called a SEPTED evaluation of the property to see what the dangers are, and I know that they took out some bushes and some trees that could be problems and things like that. So I think they would definitely be able to have some appropriate input for this document. Thanks.
And a second point, I didn't read it all either, but I read parts of it. And I will read it some more when I head up to the cottage, which is in 2 weeks. So, but it brought back memories from when I worked at Dune Heritage Village. There was a flood there. The Schneider Creek overflowed and went through several of the buildings. And documents there were taken and put in a freezer and frozen, so they could find out how they were going to try and preserve them afterwards. But yeah, we found it really intriguing. They were totally waterlogged, and they were put in a freezer. I don't know whatever happened with them. There were several of them, and they dated back. They were fairly early documents that came, I think, as early back as 1912, when the Waterloo Historical Society was first formed, and they actually were the curators of the museum collection at that point. And some of the documents dated from those early years.
Yeah, that is such a scary prospect. So we were looking at all of those scenarios to see, what sort of resources we could pull from. And it's nice that we have herb transport. That is actually one that the local museums are all putting down as a potential to help in cases such as that. Mm-hmm.
And the other nice thing is since they're so close, I mean, you have but they could get a truck here immediately, and you could, because when I worked at the grocery store, I mean, this is an aside, the hydro went out, and the first call was to Vernon, and Vernon had a truck down there, and stuff was moved into that truck so that it didn't spoil.
Ready?
Sherry, what effect do you think the construction's going to be to the castle?
Well, I think that we've. I've spoke with the engineering department, and they're trying their best to make sure that we're still going to be able to conduct our summer concerts and carry on. As far as I know, one portion is going to be like in front of the fence line, and then the next portion they'll be closing off the driveway, but there will be an alternate exit put in place by that time. So I think that's really just coming to light this week. I think they're going to start to do that. I'm not sure. Cam had said, yeah.
Based on a sign that I saw on the drive-in, May 27th, that matches up the information pamphlet that's been provided to residents and businesses, say end of May, early June. So May 27th would line up with that.
Are they going to start down the hill from the railway tracks first to clean that up first, or is that done?
My understanding is first phase will be from Mill to Christian Street, or Christian to Mill, however you want to look at it.
Okay.
Al?
Yeah, sort of related to that, and I know we're concerned about access, but there's going to be heavy equipment and stuff working out there. Is there any concern about vibration? And have there been studies and et cetera about vibration? Because we know what vibration does to plaster.
Exactly, yes. So I am a part of the meeting on Thursday where I will be asking those questions.
Just as an aside, and I don't want to scare the heck out of you, we lived in a building when I was going to WO above where Jocelyn's Insurance is now. And there were they weren't even doing construction work. They were just removing the snow in the winter, and they had a piece of equipment, and it cracked the plaster in the ceiling. And that was not, doing any pounding or anything. That was just a piece of equipment running up and down the sidewalk, taking snow off. But in that case, the building is right at the road. But still, vibration does travel.
I do know that when I first started here, all of those vibration studies were conducted for the homes that were going back here, and that was even at a further distance. So I can check with our engineering department to make sure that they're aware and that it is obviously a deep concern.
I know, Sherry, typically, like just dealing with construction of old buildings at work. There's often a kind of like a temporary protection plan that gets put in place, and sometimes we look at monitoring during for vibration or doing like a pre and post construction thing. So maybe that's something that may be able to be worked into it too. That might help. And actually, I wonder what was done when this addition was put on. I know that's very old now, but they would have had to take care of putting all the supports and stuff in. I don't know.
But at that point, we've restored everything now. So, at that point, we hadn't really started to do the restoration when this was being done, but yeah.
No, I was thinking if there was like a certain vibration level that was okay, maybe that's like a benchmark to look at. I don't know. Well, thanks for the update, Sherry. So there was, Councillor?
Just wondering if when the fire services goes through it, that they could red letter it somehow, or we could see the changes. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I always find that useful when you see what additions they've made and you understand, so.
Absolutely, I can do that for you, yes.
Anything else? Okay, so there was a recommendation to receive the emergency plan and provide feedback. So we'll do that. And then endorsement, you should have the following meeting, Sherry. So you look for comments in the next couple of weeks, probably?
Yes, if I could get comments by May 31st, and that will give me enough time to get it into the report and then provide Cam with enough time to get it into the agenda for June.
Great. So could we have a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Councillor and Susan? All in favor? That's carried. All right, moving on to number 7, announcements, info sharing, items for next meeting. I'll just open it up to the floor if anyone has anything. Going once, going twice.
Just that
Al?
This will be my last meeting for a little while. We'll be heading north in about 2 weeks, so I don't know how many. Depending on my scheduling, I did come back last year for the September meeting, but that was our first meeting, so I probably won't be at a meeting till physically, potentially till October, or maybe even later than that, depending when the October meeting is.
Okay, thanks, Al.
But Cam will send me everything. Respond through email.
Well, enjoy your time up north. All right, that brings us to next meeting is June 11th. We won't have Al here. That's it. Motion to adjourn. Ren, second. Councillor, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.